Walker. I'm particularly pleased to be able to attend the debate opened at length by the Honourable Member for Newport West.
Hear, hear.
In fact, hearing the Honourable Member be able to speak at length is justification in itself for this petitions process. I particularly enjoyed his put down of the whippersnappers in the Tory benches who are paying insufficient regard to the experience of the Honourable Member and, of course, Her Majesty the Queen. I thought that was one of the highlights of the debate thus far. Now, I think it's difficult to know whether to be appalled at the morality of this invitation or just astonished at the stupidity of the invitation. As an example of fawning subservience, if I could disagree with my honourable friend for a second, the Prime Minister's holding hands across the ocean visit would be difficult to match. To do it in the name of shared values was stomach-churning. What exactly are the shared values that this House, that this country, would hope to have with President Trump? Now, exemplifying what shared values are is a process fraught with danger, but the Prime Minister, when she was Home Secretary, tried it. She said, there are things like democracy, a belief in the rule of law, a belief in tolerance for other people, equality, and acceptance of other people's faiths and religion. Now, which of these values, as outlined by the Prime Minister, has President Trump exemplified in his first 30 days in office? 30 days, I give way to the Honourable Lady.
I thank the right honourable gentleman for giving way. Would he agree with me that, given President Trump's remarks about torture, his misogynistic stance against women, as well as Muslims, that associating with him in the form of a state visit does huge amounts of damage to the Queen and our monarchy, which is respected and revered around the world, and that the government should have a government-to-government visit and leave Her Majesty out of this?
Well, I do agree with that. I noted also that Trump's acolytes, according to one newspaper report, had started to choose which members of the royal family they would meet on a state visit. He wasn't going to meet Prince Charles in case the conversation turned to the issue of climate change. I do think this is a world first. Somebody being accorded the privilege of a state visit, actually picking and choosing which members of the royal family that he might be expected to meet. I give way to the Honourable Member.
When he met Donald Trump and welcomed him in Scotland in 2006, did he express the same views?
Yeah, well, actually, I've met Donald Trump more than once, which will give me an advantage over, I think, every other member in this chamber. I've also negotiated with Donald Trump, which would give me an additional advantage, perhaps to give the honourable member some instruction. Because what you should remember about President Trump, he is not a stupid man. And the belief that he has forgotten what was actually said about him by the Prime Minister when he was a candidate is nonsensical, or indeed her supporting staff, or the Foreign Secretary, when he said he wouldn't go to New York unless he was confused for him. To actually believe that Donald Trump has forgotten these things is to seriously underrate the man's intelligence. If I could paraphrase P.J. Wodehouse, it is not difficult to tell the difference between a ray of sunshine and Donald Trump with a grievance. And I can give that exactly from my experience with the American president. And that's what brings me to the act of stupidity which is involved in this invitation. Even when people are in a weak negotiating position, as the UK is at the present moment, thanks to the nonsensical decision to invoke Article 50 without at least having some idea where the negotiations are going to end up. I see Brexiteers shaking their heads. I was actually quoting almost exactly from the Vote Leave website, who said that doing that would be like putting a gun to your head. But unfortunately, that's exactly what the government have chosen to do. To actually put yourself in that weak negotiating position and then to advertise it so blatantly to President Trump, as the Prime Minister managed to do, is a recipe for total and utter disaster. From my experience with negotiating from Donald Trump, let me tell the honourable member, never, ever do it from a weak position, because the result will be total disaster. Justin Trudeau, like the Prime Minister, is a relatively new in office, yet he has demonstrated how to pursue a business relationship while keeping Canada's integrity intact. Hear, hear. The Prime Minister should take note, rescind the state visit before any more embarrassment and division is caused in this country. And since, Mr Walker, since it's already been mentioned in this debate, to actually allow this process to be the pretext for another assault on the Speaker is beyond madness in this place. The gunpowder plot, this new one, will fizzle out just as surely as the last one did. What we should demand from Mr. Speaker is fairness to all parts of the House, the ability for all people to be heard, and not a Trappist this.
I don't want to shout or anything. We're not having a debate about the Speaker, and that goes for all members here. You've made your point. Can you return to the substance of the debate, which is Mr. Trump's visit?
Well, Mr. Walker, I was replying to a point that you allowed to be made in the debate already. And to just state my opinion that this House across all parties will not allow this particular Speaker to be removed on this issue, I think is perfectly in order, sir. So therefore, to both in the process of debasing the shared values that we are meant to have with the United States of America, and the point was well made by the member from Newport West that this President in 30 days has managed to achieve a record low in the Gallup ratings. The United States of America is not being invited to a state visit. The state visit is to the individual of President Trump, and to confuse this too is a serious mistake by honourable members and others who support this particular offer. And secondly, Mr. Walker, not to recognise from all experience with negotiating with this particular man, to do so from a position of weakness will not result in some face-saving, life-saving, augmented trade deal, but will be a route and a recipe to total disaster for this country. This invitation for the state visit should be rescinded before any further damage is caused.
James Carr.